Hey, are you thinking of using Klaviyo? Well, if you are, this video is for you. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to use Klaviyo, which means how to set up your campaigns the right way, how to set up flows and launch them live, how to create segments so you could decide who you want your emails to go out to, and pretty much how to use the entire platform. My name's Alex, help make about $500,000 through email and SMS marketing revenue with my team at IX Media, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let's get to it. All right, first thing I want to go over is the dashboard. So you're going to notice if you go to home, which is at the top left bar, you're going to see your dashboard, and here's how it works. Conversion metric, all that means is what is the metric you're tracking. By default, it's always going to be placed order, which means how much revenue have you made from all the orders that you made. And then time period, by default, it's going to be last 30 days. You could change it. You could go every last 7 days. You could go last year if you want to go back all the way back. But you could choose, right? That being said, but the default is 30 days. Now, how does the actual dashboard look at the top? Well, on the left-hand side is how much total revenue the store has made, including email and SMS marketing. So this is the total Shopify revenue this brand has made in the last 30 days. On the right-hand side is how much revenue has been made using not only email, but it's email, SMS, WhatsApp marketing, pretty much the entire Klaviyo ecosystem on the right-hand side. By the way, this brand hasn't used Klaviyo in like months, literally, so that's why the revenue is like that, but I digress. Now, here you go to the attributed revenue. So this is what Klaviyo actually brought in. Now, you have revenue per recipient. All that means is you have 5,000 people in your email list. How much revenue is made per person? So you do 5,000 divided by 218. It gives you 0.03 pence in this case. Then you go to how much revenue has been made from campaigns. The first number is the actual number, how much the dollar amount that was made, and then here is the percentage that was attributed to campaigns compared to campaigns and flows. So for context, in email marketing, you have two different ways to make money: campaigns and your flows. I'll go into the specifics in a second, but campaigns are pretty much a one-time email that you send out to either a portion or your entire list. Flows, on the other hand, are a collection of emails that get sent out to somebody in your list based on something they've done. So if, let's just say I subscribe to your emails, I get entered into your welcome flow, which is about 5 to 6 different emails that get sent out to me in the course of maybe like a month, 2 weeks, 1 week, different for every flow. So this brand, 80% of their email revenue came from flows in the last 30 days, and about 20% came from campaigns. Same thing, dollar amount that the flows made, and then percentage. And the last kind of section, the top part, is how much revenue was made between email marketing and then SMS marketing. Same thing here, 43 pounds was made from campaigns. So, we sent out, I think, 2 campaigns the last couple of days. But most of the revenue came from flows, which were text messages. So these were SMS messages that were set up as flows. And again, that's the same amount of revenue. Obviously, if we were sending a bunch of SMS messages, it would fluctuate. The difference would be different. Now, top performing flows, we barely send out any emails in this account, so you're going to see what are the top performing flows that you have. And then you're also going to see the top performing campaigns. So, let's just say the last, 30 days, you sent out 5 campaigns. What are the campaigns from best performing in terms of revenue to least performing? So this is the dashboard, pretty self-explanatory. Shouldn't take too long to get used to it. And again, last thing I'll mention, you could change the metrics. So if, let's just say I want to see how many people are, awaiting payment, right? Nobody, right? Or, how many are fulfilled partial order, right? You have 255. So you could, mess around with the conversion metrics, but usually just go place order because that shows you how much revenue was actually made, and in this case was this much money. Next thing, if we go to campaigns, as I mentioned, we barely sent out any emails in the last couple of days, but this is where the campaigns would be. Now let me break this down. That way I could show you a few other examples. Date range, by default, is going to be 30 days. If you want to change it, you could go, let's go all time and see how much revenue they made all time. And then you go, 1,500 pounds, 800 pounds, et cetera, et cetera. But you could see out of all time how much revenue was made. Now, again, it's going to show from the very last email you sent out at the very top, working its way down. You could also pick the audience. So let's just say I want to see people who were in the list from customer win back. I could click it, and then it'll show me people from that list. You could choose a channel. So let's just say, I want to do push marketing, text message, which is just SMS, or I want to see only the WhatsApp messages I could pick out. then it'll show me just the WhatsApp messages. But in this case, I just want to see email marketing, which is going to show me the email metric. Then the status, you could do anybody. So let's just say it goes here. It'll show me all the different things I have in this in the campaign section. So it'll show me drafts. It'll show me emails that were sent. It'll show me emails that are scheduled to be sent. And it'll also show me emails that have been canceled. Maybe I sent it out, but I'm like, you know what? I actually don't want to send this email out. It'll cancel it. You have the tags. Let's just say I want to see every email that was sent out that had to do with our Black Friday sales. If I made a tag within the emails, I could click this button and then it'll show me all the emails that are related to that tag. Nice way to do it. You also have A/B tests. You know, what A/B tests that we run, it'll show you all the different A/B tests as well as archived emails. Now I won't get specific on all that sort of stuff, but that's how we do it. Now, cool little thing I actually, funny enough, I found out like a year ago, but in context, it was pretty late since when I started. If you click placed order, it'll show you all the revenue was made from the best performing campaigns all the way to the worst. So here's the best performing campaigns we send out, and then it just works its way down. How do you create a campaign? You're going to hit this little button that says create campaign. You're going to name it whatever you want. In our case, we usually do the number of email that goes out this month. So let's just say this is the third email we're going to send out. We do 3, the little line, and then whatever the email is about. So let's just say it's going to be about, us versus them. We're going to put us versus them. And then you have 2 different options. You go omni-channel. Now, if you're just starting out with Klaviyo, I don't suggest, you can, but I'm just going to stick to the single channel. Omni-channel is if you want to send out to multiple different audiences, or I think you could even send out to like SMS message, an email message, a WhatsApp message, all throughout all throughout one campaign. That being said, you could also do that, but I'm going to go single channel for now. Then the date, you don't have to change that, just keep it by default. And then as I mentioned, you could create a tag. So if I'm making like a email about our new drop, like a new product drop, I could name it new drop, and then I could just click it, and then it'll be attributed to that. Now, if I hit continue, I get entered into this dashboard. Now I get to choose what segment or list I want to send it out to. So I get to choose who do I want to send this email out to. Now, if you have 2 different types, you have lists and you have segments. I'll get into that in a second. But essentially think of a list that it's not going to change. So let's just say that, you used to use MailChimp. Now you're transitioning to Klaviyo and you're transporting all those, all the contacts that you had from MailChimp onto Klaviyo. A list is that, right? So you would just transport a list, and that list is not going to change unless you manually add people to the list or, take people away. Now, a segment, on the other hand, is, think of it as a list, but it automatically changes. So if I make a segment that says, I want anybody in the segment to have placed an order in the last 30 days, Klaviyo will automatically track that and say, okay, who in the last 30 days has placed an order? And let's say I placed an order today. I'll be adding into that segment. Now, let's just say it's day 29 or day 30 and day 31. I'll be taken out of that list, and then new people that have just placed an order will be entered into that list. Now, I'm going to choose something random for now, just so you have an idea. Smart sending, I suggest turning this off. All this does is it excludes this campaign from going out to anybody who has received an email from your brand in the last, I think, 16 hours, right? 12 hours, it changed 12 hours. Now, that being said, don't do this. Very, very simply, the only reason people like to do this is because they're like, man, I don't want to send too many emails. Unless you have maybe you do have a lot of emails that are being sent out and you just want to chill out for a little bit, you can. But typically, even if people are getting both your flows and your campaigns, I suggest taking this off. More emails you send out, typically the more revenue you're going to make, the more people are going to enjoy your brand. So I'm just going to take it off. Now, you could also use UTM tracking. So let's just say I do Facebook ads, Meta ads, Google ads, whatever the case may be. I could turn on these 2 things, and then you could mess with the actual tracking parameters. But this is the way to track your sales directly. So you're like, okay, I want to see what sales directly came from email marketing. I could choose, because the way Klaviyo works by default is, I think the attribution day is 5 days, but I have to check. I'll show you in a second. But they attribute anybody who has clicked on the email and maybe placed an order directly off the email. So let's just say I look at the email and I'm like, man, there's a great email I want to buy, but I get distracted. I do something else, and then 30 minutes later, I'm already off the email, but I'm like, oh man, I remember I saw that email I wanted to buy, and then I buy directly off the website. Klaviyo will track that order, and it'll be counted as a sale. So if you want to track the direct sales, like, okay, which sales directly came from Klaviyo, you could add this if you want. And then also, if you want to exclude anybody, you can. Let's say, typically, I will say this, if you're making like on a normal email, I would exclude anybody who was placed an order in the last 7 to 14 days because, you know, they just bought, you already got them as a sale, chill out with the emails for a little bit, and then, you know, hit them again later on, unless it's like a brand update or something like that. All right, now that you're in the next part of the email, here's the fun part. So now you're going to be able to either create the email on Klaviyo, so design the email on Klaviyo, or you can upload an email from Figma, Canva, whatever that place may be. I always suggest making an email directly off Figma or Canva. I don't even suggest Canva. I suggest using Figma because you have a lot of design aspects that you have control over. But from this point, you can create the email. Now, if you really want to create use one of the templates, you could click this little button and then you can mess with the templates, and then Klaviyo kind of make it very easy for you. But again, as you could tell, even if you mess with the email, it looks pretty bad. And then you could put in your subject line, the preview text, sender name, and then sender email. Now, this is obviously going to be set up automatically, specifically the sender name and the sender email. But just look at Klaviyo, and you could also ask for support, but just find an email that you want to send emails through. If this is an email that is personal, do not use this. Do not use that email. Use an email that is specifically dedicated for Klaviyo, because you're going to have to warm up this email. You're going to get a lot of traffic and a lot of responses. So, you know, if you're thinking of using that for personal and Klaviyo, don't do it. Just get your own email, or get this a specific email for Klaviyo. So I just made up an email for now. Sender name, just put in your, you know, whatever the name is. So like for IX Media, I would put IX Media. Something cool you could do is, let's just say, you're like Brez, right? That's better. Yeah, sure. If you're like Brez, you could also put like maybe like an emoji. So it's like maybe like the sky, or if you have, I don't know what would match Brez, but I'm just gonna put a star. So whatever your brand is, if you sell pizza, if you sell chocolates, if you sell wine, whatever you sell, you could just put a little emoji, which is pretty cool. And then I'll get into the subject line and preview text in a little bit. Once you create, then you could start uploading the email. Now I'm gonna put in a dummy email just so you could see what it looks like, but it's pretty simple. So what I suggest doing is getting rid of all this sort of stuff, and then just putting your image, right? Because now you're gonna be able to directly put in the email that you choose. So I'm gonna pick an email that I'm gonna make right now, and I'll show you how to upload it. So give me 1 second. Okay, now how do you actually upload an email to Klaviyo? Well, first you go to Figma, or whatever your platform is. Again, please use Figma, it's just 100 times better. You're gonna hit this little button, hit slice, and then you're gonna start slicing the email. So you're gonna go from the very, very top corner, make sure you get it right, and then you're gonna go slice, and you're gonna start doing that. Now, how big should the slices be? This is a good size. I mean, you know, I wouldn't go anything further than like this, because what happens is if you upload the email as one big old chunk, when people receive that email, it's going to take a very long time to load up in the screen. So when you cut into individual chunks, it's going to load a lot faster in the person's inbox. So again, I would just start doing this. You go like here, export, preview. One is fine. Just make sure that, you know, it's the right size. Once you have that, then you're gonna start uploading it. So I just did this one. Again, it's just a random brand, and then you're gonna start doing it, right? So now I'm just gonna upload the rest of the email. Just drag and drop. Very, very simple. Drag and drop until you're all good. Cool. So now once I drag and drop everything, now I'm going to go ahead and link the email. So for this email, I'm just going to go, let's just say for fun, let's do drink Brez, right? I want to link it to Brez. What I'll do is I'll click the drink Brez button, hit the email, and then where it says link address, just hit it, just hit enter. Now, real quick, I suggest using, great pop-up form, by the way. I always suggest using the actual product page. So instead of leading people like to the, you know, normal like drinkbrez.com, lead them directly to the product that you want to promote. So if the email is about, you know, the OG, literally link this right here, OG, boom. Now, even if it's not, I still always suggest maybe you don't have a specific product you're promoting. It's always good to just have some type of product page that you're linking people to, whether it be the general shop now page or a specific product. Don't link them to the home page, link them to a general shop now page. Or if there's a bundle or a product that you really want people to go to, link it directly on there, because you're creating less friction. People don't have to click on so many buttons to find the product. You can link them directly to there, and it's just helping conversion rates go higher. So once you have that, imagine I linked all the images up, and then you hit next. Now, you could add an unsubscribe button. I never do that just because Klaviyo automatically does it, and it's never hurt us with deliverability or anything like that. So feel free just to send the email automatically. Klaviyo will add a default unsubscribe button on your behalf. Now, subject line, I have other videos, but again, you just want to give context to the email and make it something actually like kind of mysterious. Catch people in their tracks, right, to stop them from doom scrolling. So, you know, something I could do is like, you know, follow the nuts plan, right? And then you could add like a little emoji, OMG, There we go. And then the preview text, and you're good to go. Then if you want to create an A/B test, you can. Very, very simple. You're just going to hit create A/B test. And then you have two different variations. So now if I want to go ahead and change the actual design, I just have to hit edit, and then I could actually change the design. I can, make it different, whatever the case may be. Or if you also want to just change the links, maybe you want to link people to one product and the other half of the A/B test goes to one product, the other half goes to another product. You could do that, but that way people could just go to different pages and you could choose. But obviously, we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to hit delete because I'm not going to make an A/B test. I'm not going to send this email, but if you were, you would do that. Make sure the sender name is good. Sender name should automatically be set up by default on Klaviyo with your email address, but if it's not, just set it up. You could add this use as a reply to, but if not, if you want people to, let's just say you make an email that says like, hey, respond back with your favorite flavor, right? And that because you want to use it for data, all you got to do is just you could either use that to send your email address, which I suggest doing because again, that email isn't going to be used anywhere else. If not, you could have a reply to email address, and maybe this one could be like your personal email or something else. I'm going to use a user's reply to. Next, and then you're good to go. So again, now you're going to be able to see like this is the final confirmation. So if you want to create a follow-up email, you can. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But in the on the right-hand side, you have the recipients. So who will this email go to? The number of people that it will go to. Smart sending. Again, that's a little 12-hour thing that like prevents anybody who received an email from you in the last 12 hours to receive another email. Take that off. It's fine. Tracking, we set up the right way. And then the warning from a reply, this will not happen for you because it'll be set up the right way. And if it is, just use your company domain. Don't use like a Gmail account. Just use your actual company domain. And then unsubscribe link. As I mentioned, Klaviyo will automatically add an unsubscribe link when sending the email. So you'll be fine. Schedule or send out. And then you can this is pretty cool. So if you want to send the email out now, you could just send it out right there. If you want to go schedule, then you could add, you could say either smart send time, which will send your messages at an optimal send time. I think the AI will like guess whatever the email is. We never use it. We just like to send it out because we know what time works best for this brand. The dates. So let's just say I want to, today's the 11th. I want to send it out on the 14th. I want to do that. And then the time, I want to send it out at 10 a.m. Typically, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. is a good time. 9 to 10 a.m. 11, 12 is still okay. 1 or 2 p.m. it works, but you see a bit of a dip. Late night afternoon sense, like for example, like 5 p.m. to like 8 p.m. those actually could work quite well. You just got to figure out with your own brand. But if you want to start, just go 10 a.m. That works fine. Now, I suggest keeping a recipient's local time zone. So let's just say I'm from Chicago and then my friend is from New York, obviously 2 different time zones. It'll send this email out to the person in New York at 10 a.m. their time. And then to me, it'll send it out to my time, 10 a.m. So it'll gradually send out. And then you can use personal send time. I haven't used that yet, so I'm not going to go into that. But that's pretty much it. Now, add a follow-up email. You could boost engagement. So now, let's just say that you really want people to get this email, right? Maybe it's a brand update, or maybe it's a big sale like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You could do a follow-up email, which is essentially this email will send out to anybody who didn't open the last email. So I send this email out. Anybody who didn't open this original email will get this email. And then I can change the subject line. It's required. So instead of don't follow the nuts plan, I want, try nuts. And then And then that's pretty much it. You could hit this to generate, your brand voice, pick out, the AI will do the work for you. If not, you could also add an emoji. That's pretty cool. And then sending details, you could send this out to people. Again, this email will go out to people who didn't open the original email, but you could specifically choose, do you want your 30-day engaged list to go out, 60-day engaged list to go out, 90-day engaged list to go out. So you could, kind of segment it specifically. Now, I know that we usually send out 60-day engaged, so I'm just going to keep it there. But let's just say, I really don't want to annoy people and I want to go to 30-day engaged so that people who barely open our emails are going to get spammed. You could choose that as well. Time delay, if you are going to do a follow-up, you could either do 48 hours or higher. Typically, we do 72 if we ever do a follow-up. Just, people could still open that email a day or two later. But 48 hours is still fine too. You could definitely do that. And then you could just send it up. You could do it by days. You could do it by hours, schedule and send out. And then you do all that sort of stuff. And you're pretty much done. So that's that. Let's next go to your flows. So your flows is pretty much, as I mentioned, a series of emails, a collection of emails, that gets sent out to somebody based on a specific action they've done. Now, just to name a few, you have your welcome flow, so people who just enter your newsletter, whether it be a pop-up form or just going to the website or placing an order. So you have your welcome flow, your post-purchase flow, so anybody who's placed an order, they're going to get a post-purchase flow. Your abandonment flows, which is abandonment site. Somebody visits your website, but not any product, so they literally just visit the website. Abandonment browse, so they browse a specific product. Abandonment cart, so not only do they go to the site, they also check out a product and they actually add it to cart. And the last, abandoned checkout, which they do all those 3 steps. And on top of that, they head out to checkout. And again, checkout is like the most engaged people are about to buy. And then abandoned site is the it's like the super least engaged list, which is still important to do for a flow with, because you could get people to actually go through the next steps. But that's the abandonment cart, checkout site, and browse emails. You also have a few other ones like your sunset flow, your replenishment flow, your subscribe flow. If you have like a subscription, you want people to get pushed to a subscription, you can create a subscription flow. A few other ones, I have another video on that. I'm not going to get too into that. I just want to, at a high level, break down Klaviyo. So how do you create a flow? Create flow right here at the top right. And then you could so Klaviyo gives you a bunch of different options, right? You could either choose browse abandonment, customer win back, customer thank you, abandoned checkout, browse, welcome series, etc., etc. All right, now that it showed up, we're going to hit edit in builder. And then it's going to load. And then now it's all specific. So now if you go placed order, it's anybody who's placed order, allows re-entry whenever the trigger conditions are available. Re-enter criteria is just showing whether profiles can enter this flow more than once. If you have like a welcome flow, people shouldn't be able to open it or receive a flow more than once. You also have your trigger filters. So let's just say, you get more specifics with it. So let's just say I want people who, the item count, so how many items that they use is, let's just say they got 4 distinct different items. You could hit the type, so number, let's just go, number is fine. So this is like the actual number of items that they've placed. Save, and you're pretty much good. Now, you could do whatever you want with this. I would keep it simple. Just go with whatever Klaviyo suggests most of the time, but that's fine. And then also, this is a limited trigger to only certain profiles. So we'll only go to people whose item count equals 4. Then profile filters, you could also do by a certain amount of profiles. So as I mentioned to the AI, anybody who's placed an order 0 times in the last 30 days. So this email is going to go to somebody who's placed an order, but not in the last 30 days. So just know that. Now that being said, I'm going to take this off because I do want people to receive this email, but just a little bit different. So I'm going to take that off and we'll be good to go. Now the time delay is very important. So I want people, as I mentioned, to go to receive this email 30 days after placing an order. And then now they're going to get it. So now it's going to be somebody who's placed an order in the last 30 days. It's been 30 days since their last order. And then the same thing as the campaign. You could do the subject line, preview text, sender name, etc., etc. And then you could choose one of the templates or upload it manually. Now that being said, that's the basic Klaviyo way to do it. If you ever have difficulties or anything like that, you feel free to reach out to Klaviyo support. They're honestly pretty good. So I suggest just asking ChatGPT, or if they don't answer, just asking support, which they could do it through email. If you have a bigger plan, I think it's like above either 5 or 10,000 profiles. You have one-on-one support, so you could like directly message somebody in their team through chat, which is pretty cool. And then a little bit about the actual dashboard for the flows. Fairly simple. You could choose the status. So people who send an email that's any flow that is live, which is only one. You could do tags. So let's just say I want only flows that relate to maybe a special unique event. Let's say, for example, I had a flow specifically for Black Friday. You could filter out your Black Friday flows, and then you'll be able to see what flows are directly meant for Black Friday. And then has sender email alert. So this is just to make sure, like, if Klaviyo notices, like, hey, this flow is dramatically underperforming for no reason, it'll show you, which is pretty cool. And then last thing, 7 days of the basic metric, as well as placed order. You could change it to all time, to custom, to last 30 days, and you could also change from placed order to something else. Now, again, this will show up all right here. Pretty simple. And then last thing I'll also mention, you could do the same thing where it's like revenue per recipient. I want the emails, the flows that have the highest revenue at the very top and the lowest revenue at the very bottom. But that's pretty much with your flows. Last thing I want to talk about, that's the core component, is your lists and segments. So if you go to profiles, you're going to be able to see the total amount of profiles you have, the total amount of active profiles you have, and the total amount of suppressed profiles that you also have. So for this brand, the amount of total profiles they have out of their whole time in Klaviyo is 300,000. A lot of them they had before we even got in there, so I think they lost like 200,000 profiles. But you could still get them back. It's going to be a lot harder. You're going to have to do a lot of segmenting and It's very, very hard. But the point is, that's the amount of total profiles you have. Now, active profiles is the main metric to pretty much look at. So those are the amount of emails that you could actually send emails out to. Doesn't mean they're all engaged. For this brand, I think it's about half of them are like truly engaged. Maybe about 70% are truly engaged. But yeah, that's the amount of emails that haven't like said, I want to unsubscribe. Those are the amount of active profiles you have. And then suppressed profiles, these are the people who specifically either you suppress manually or they wanted to leave. So like if you look at the little thing, profiles that are unable to receive email marketing messages. So like no matter what, you cannot send emails to them unless you manually unsuppress them. And then these are the total kind of all the profiles you have in the entire history of email marketing, which some of them are just like, they're dead. They're completely dead. But that's the profiles. But again, the main metric is the active profiles. This is the main metric to look at. Now, let's go to lists and segments. How does that actually look like? So lists, you just hit create list. You can name it whatever you want. You could tag it, create list. And then I'm not going to actually upload a list because I don't need it for privacy reasons. But if you do, let's say, for example, you're transitioning from MailChimp to Klaviyo. You just download all the lists from MailChimp and then segment it. So you, like on MailChimp, just make sure that, okay, like these are the people who engage with me in the last like 5 days, in the last 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. That way, when you're on Klaviyo and you're warming up your Klaviyo account, you're hitting to the most engaged people. So it's a higher chance that they're going to look at your emails and actually engage with them. But that being said, you go upload them here. But what I will do and do the full breakdown is is your segment. So if you go here, create list, you have also create segments, and this is where you can have a lot of fun. As I mentioned, you could also do the AI thing. So you could say anyone who's engaged with my emails in the last 90 days, right? And then if you hit that, Klaviyo will automatically generate a list. I'm going to show you how to manually do it just so you know, and in the case that you want to do it, because it is a little faster if you know. All you got to do is like subscribe to email marketing. So if someone can or cannot receive email marketing, that's usually the very first filter. We have 53,000. Add condition, it's either an and or an or. So and is like, okay, not only are they subscribed to email marketing, but they're also XYZ. Or is like anybody who has received email marketing as period, or maybe, suppressed as well. Now, that being said, if you make it an and, it's always going to be a tighter list because you're making it harder for somebody to enter the list because it's an and condition, opposed if you choose or, that's going to be anybody who has done either or, so it's going to be easier for them to enter the list. But let's go and I want someone who has or has not done. That's like 99% of the time you're going to hit someone has or has not done, and then person has. And then let's just say I'm going to create your basic engaged list. So let's just say I want people who are just basically engaged with the emails. I'm going to go open email. So open email at least once in the last 30 days. So again, these are people who are subscribed and have engaged in the last 30 days. So I've opened an email. I'm going to add condition. And for this one, I want an or. So not only can they have opened an email, but let's just say I want them to be active on the site. So I'm going to choose someone has or has not done, and then active on site at least once in the last 30 days, and then I'll go a little higher. It doubled it, right? So this is a pretty good list to do it. Usually active on site in open email are a pretty good number. You could also do anybody who's clicked an email, which is some people suggest doing that, which you can. I'll show you what that means. But again, the open email pretty much covers it. So like, obviously, if somebody's clicked on the email, what do they have to do? They have to open the email. So anybody who has opened the email is going to be clicked on it. However, that being said, there is a tiny difference. Sometimes Klaviyo doesn't track it, so I'll show you what that looks like. So clicked email, at least once the last 30 days, it's going to go up 6 profiles, not a lot, but you can do that. That's pretty much it. So this is what I would do if you want to create your basic engaged list. Now, if you're warming up your deliverability, which you probably are, then I would start very basic. What I would do is like anybody who's not even been on site, I would do anybody who's opened email in the last, let's just say 7 days, right? It's going to be a very tight list. It's going to be the same for this case because it's pretty much everybody, but I would go that. Now, let's just say, for example, it's a brand new Klaviyo account and nobody's opened your emails. Then you go active on site at least once in the last 7 days. You could also do an or, which is like, anyone who has not only been active on site, but they could have also placed an order. So I'm going to say placed order. Someone has or has not done. Placed order at least once in the last 30 days. And there you go. Now, one very, very last thing I'll say about this. It's good to exclude anybody who has placed an order in the last 7 to 14 days. You're going to have to mess with it. A lot of times people just bought. They don't want to keep getting emails from you. So just think about how often people buy your products. If it's every 30 days, you can make a placed order segment of 30 days. So it would be anyone who has, I'm going to take that off, placed an order in the last 30 days. And in this case, it's 875 people. So when you're sending out your campaigns, anyone who's in this list, you could exclude, right? So anybody who's placed an order in the last 30 days, you could exclude them. Now, if it's 14 days, change it to 14, 12, 12, 7, 7. Create segments. Well, create name as well. So I'm going to put place order. And then we have this format always, so just placed order 30 days. If it's engaged, let's just say, either they've been active on the site, they've checked out our emails, they opened, they clicked it, I would just put engaged 30 days. Whatever, engaged at 30 days. Or I could do open and even entire list, open email in the last 30 days. Pretty much it. You could create a tag if you want. Again, totally up to you. Create segment and you're good to go. And that's pretty much it. So that's how you create segments, that's how you upload campaigns, and that's how you set up your flows. You obviously have a few different things like your content, like, this is where you create templates, your analytics, pretty important. So you could check, I'm not going to go through that for privacy reasons, but you can see the dashboard of like what your open rate is, where your deliverability is, what your benchmarks are, which is pretty important. But that being said, you could do that. On the other side, you could choose website stuff. So if you want to create a sign up form, you could go here. I'm not going to create a sign up form because I haven't done a sign up form in quite a bit of time because we usually use Alia for most of our clients. Great software for pop-up forms, by the way. Suggest using them, but you can create a you create a form. I suggest using. There's a good video by I think it's Well Copy Max from Well Copy. You search up like Max Well Copy how to create a pop-up form. I seen one of his videos when I first got started, and I got a 10% submit rate with that specific pop-up form, so it works fine. And that's pretty much it. So anyways, hope that video helped out, guys. God bless you. Talk to you soon. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, please let me know in the description. God bless you guys. I hope Jesus Christ enters your life. All love. Talk soon. Bye.